Hey, what's up, guys? Mominatrix here. Welcome back to Mominatrix Mondays. I didn't feel like wearing a face today, so you don't get to see me without makeup and hair. I just wanted to take today's episode as an opportunity to help you guys choose what kind of tools you want to use in the training of your mythical beasts. So we're going to go through a few of the options that we have here. I feel like I have a pretty good spread of the different sorts of tools that one might use. This, obviously, is a riding crop, okay? This was originally designed for use with horses. It works particularly good on the flanks and thigh portions, as well as other more rounded parts of your mythical beast. And depending on the crop, it can be either an easy or a medium level tool. I would say, generally speaking, it's pretty mild. It doesn't cause that much discomfort, and so I would really suggest this is a great place to start. You can find them for relatively cheap on the internet. That's where I got this one. I think it was part of a two-piece set that was somewhere in the ballpark of $15. As you can see, nice quality. Real leather, good stuff. Anyway, so that's my introductory level. Most of my mythical beasts start off with either that or something akin to this. This is just your basic leather paddle. As you can see, it's got some imprints here. You have different kinds that will have either they're completely plain or some of them have studs. Some of them have indentations that will leave certain imprints on your mythical beast. The studded kind tends to be a bit more brutal and a bit more intense, so only reserve those for mythical beasts that are more experienced in their training. And if you're really hell-bent on leaving a mark on your mythical beast with these sorts of tools, then I would highly suggest that you train them up to it first. Branding can be very difficult. You have to hit particularly hard with these to leave an imprint. But otherwise, this is much like the hand. It's a very good rudimentary tool and basic tool. I would say that it probably sits pretty squarely in the middle average range of discomfort for your mythical beast. A good place to start, a good place to really see where your beast is at and how to gauge their level, because it's very easy to control how much discomfort you put them in with this. Now here I want to talk about floggers, a couple of different kinds. So the lighter flogger, which is usually something like a light leather or plastic, things like that, is going to sting a lot more. So if your beast responds better to the kind of higher frequencies of pain rather than, you know, the dull, thudding, sort of forceful impacts, that's what I would recommend here. If your beast, however, prefers more of a dull ache rather than that sharp, high-frequency sting, then you want to go with something like a leather or a silicone flogger, because these heavy tendrils, these heavy, those words that I'm looking for here, the heavy strands, essentially, are very intense in their impact, but they don't sting a lot. It's a much more heavier, more of a base, rounded sort of feeling, an ache rather than a sting. Now, the last two things that I want to talk about over here are often interchanged as the top tier of your training tools. And a lot of people would say that the Bullwhip here is really the pinnacle of training implements, that it's the absolute hardest to use and hardest to understand and most painful and most discomfort. I'm going to say that the cane here, or the switch, as you might call it, is actually worse. And I'll get to that in just a second as to why. So the problem that most people run into with the whip is that they've watched too many Indiana Jones movies, or movies where the very clearly defined is emphasized quite a bit. Now that sonic boom impact That's what that is. That is the end of the whip right there, breaking the sound barrier. That crack is one, terrible for your whip. It's really bad, and it will eventually degrade the structural integrity of your whip. This whip actually has a break right here that I had to repair because of cracking. You can see it. Maybe a little bit better there. There you go. You can actually see where it started to come apart, and I had to do an emergency repair on it. They're also very high maintenance, and they take a lot of effort to maintain. You have to oil them. You have to make sure that the leather is conditioned and polished and cleaned and all of that. And it's a very good tool, and I would say that it's very artistic in its use, but it's not the most intense tool. If you're using it making that intense thundering crack every time, that's going to break your whip. But two, the most important part about that is that when you do that, you are going to draw blood. Your mythical beast is not going to like that. But that's not how it's intended to be used. You're supposed to use this much lighter. You wouldn't even use it in its traditional setting on a bull or a horse with that level of intensity. If you impacted those animals with that, you would hurt them. You would damage them. In fact, with a high quality leather bullwhip, much better than I have here, with a high quality leather bullwhip that's very well oiled and well maintained, it's actually possible to lacerate the skin bad enough that you can cause organ damage. I have seen intense, that is an intense level of discomfort and pain. That's not what we use it for when we're training our mythical beast. No mythical beast is going to be here for that. And very few mythical beasts are going to be here for broken skin of any kind. You have to be, in some sense or another, nice to your mythical beast. You have to be tender with them and reach out to their level. So you want to use this with more of a lighter flair to it. And I'm going to do an entire long tutorial on that later because I have very strong feelings about it. But the cane here, I would say, is the absolute pinnacle of the impact arts and the impact training tools. And the reason for that is it takes a minimal amount of effort, a minimal amount of skill and artistry and ability to do real lasting damage, to leave welts, to break skin, to do intense discomfort to your mythical beast. So this is definitely, in my opinion, the advanced level of tool. Now there are several different kinds of switches, as you can see by my wall over there. There are several different kinds of switches, and I will probably do a video entirely on that later on. But the moral of the story with the switch or the cane is that it does a lot of damage without a lot of effort. It does a lot. It's a very intense tool. If you have a very stubborn beast that doesn't cooperate and needs some very high intensity training, this is the tool to go to. It doesn't require nearly as much effort to learn how to use correctly as the whip, and it definitely has more of an impact than any of the previously listed tools. But again, it's advanced use only. Do not use this as an entry-level trainer. Do not use this on an entry-level beast. It's just not going to work out in your favor. They're not going to like it, and they're not going to want to continue training with you. Okay, guys, that is a brief overview of the impact tools that I use for my training and that I recommend at each of the different levels. So to sum up in very short form, this is the order that I would suggest levels of pain, not necessarily in terms of ease of use. So very light to medium, pretty squarely medium, medium can be heavy, medium heavy, very heavy, and this can actually go all the way from light to heavy. It really depends on how you're using the tool. Light all the way from one end of the spectrum completely over to the other. So there you are, tools for use with your mythical beasts. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, guys. Have a great day.